world a better place. Helping out the middle class, I think Kid Rock just revoked his Republican membership. Joining me now are Toure and Margie Omero. Thank you both for coming on the show tonight.
Thank you, Reverend.
Good evening, Reverend.
Toure, Kid Rock's just one musician, but do you think he's speaking for a lot of people in the party who are embarrassed by the GOP policies now?
I do. I mean, he's a heartland figure. He's a Republican guy. He's sort of Republican to the core. But he's talking about progressive taxation. He's talking about being pro-woman's right to choose. He's talking about being pro-gay marriage. So he's certainly breaking from a lot of the GOPers right there. I think you're seeing two movements going on, that Tea Party or fringe GOP, very conservative, very happy, wanting to go further and further to the right. Wanting principle and not caring about winning elections, that very important thing. Right. And then you see another group that's floating more toward what used to be the middle, that's saying we're not happy with this party. We don't like where this is going. For 30 years, the GOP party ID has been dropping. Democratic has been remained the same. So clearly there are a larger group of people who want to call themselves independents, don't want to be down with the GOP.
Now, Margie, you know, my first reaction was cynical. Well, where was he? Where was his ears during the campaign? Why didn't he understand that is what they were saying? But maybe it's since the campaign and this obstruction and this, no matter what the president does, and their reaction to Newtown and others have kind of made some of their supporters even say, wait a minute, this is not what I'm really for.
Well, certainly right. I mean, if Kid Rock's embarrassed by the Republican Party, he has a lot of company, actually. A majority of Americans feel the Republican Party is too extreme. You even see that among Republican voters who feel that way. And that also happens after a party loses an election, where even folks in their party say, let's have some introspection and figure out why we're losing voters. I guess the Republican celebrity outreach that they've been talking about, that was in the RNC report, they haven't gotten to Kid Rock yet, and to bring him back into the fold as part of their next phase of attracting younger voters. But the positions that Kid Rock shows, and also the fact that he doesn't want to be pinned down by a certain label, that's something that actually a lot of voters share. A lot of voters have views, some of which sound Republican, some of which sound Democratic, and they're not sure what party they want to identify with. That's not uncommon. No, and you touched on that, Toure. The fact is that what was interesting is he talked, as I quoted, about the economy. He talked about the astronomical amounts of money some athletes, some stars are making. Why can't they pay more in taxes? And how regular, ordinary working people trying to make it a better world. That is the exact issue, the economy, President Obama said the election was about. Listen to this.
This is not just another political debate. This is the defining issue of our time. What are we going to do to make sure that middle-class families are secure and that we continue to build ladders for people who are trying to get into the middle class? This is a make-or-break moment for America's middle class. That choice is going to be up to you. That's a good choice.
So that's the defining issue, not only of the election, but of our time. And they lost the election representing the policies that they did. They're still holding fast. They're now losing supporters, highly visible supporters like Kid Rock. What don't they get?
Well, they don't get a lot of things, and we could do a whole show about what they don't get. But we, as America, are losing this issue. At this point in American history, you are very likely to end up in the class that your father was born into. So we don't have that intergenerational mobility that we were used to, that defined what it meant to be America, that it would be you would do better than your parents. And especially, even if you could work at that lower middle class job, right, at GM or Ford, make it to some sort of picket fence, some little lawn, middle class, I'm good, I can take care of myself, I can take care of my kids, and just work there for 30, 40 years. That's gone, right? And if we have a country where you will be in the class that your parents were in, that's Europe. That's not the way it's supposed to be. That's the thing that defines America, that you have a chance to get rich and you have the probability of doing better than your parents if you work hard and do the right things. That's not where we are anymore, and that's not what we want to see.
No, well, certainly not, Marge, the progression from generation to generation and the picket fence. the way this is going, some Republicans are going to join me picketing the fence of the Republican headquarters. But, you know, I've got to ask you this. They are actually reaching out to Dick Cheney. I mean, they have asked Dick Cheney to come and address RNC members this weekend about the party's future. Now, and it comes after he's already addressed GOP lawmakers about North Korea. You've got to explain to me what this strategy is. It's certainly got to be something I can't figure out, Margie.
Well, Dick Cheney has never been known for his popularity, but maybe there's some tactical lessons they can learn from him. I don't know. But there is a Republican narrative to tell that it addresses the middle class and addresses our economic prosperity. There is a Republican narrative there that doesn't have to be exclusionary, but they didn't have it in 2012. And I think that's the process of what's going on, what's been going on the last few months and what's going on in the next few months, where Republicans are going to try to regain that message where they're reaching out to voters. But we're going to see, but if you have issues like for guns, for example, where you have folks threatening to filibuster on an issue that 90% of Americans support, that doesn't put them back in the inclusive language. That keeps them in that exclusionary language. So we'll see. I mean, right now, about 60% of